must be, because it says I am. As promised, here I am, day 9, every day in February. I told myself I would go live on my YouTube channel for better or for worse, just trying it out just to see what happens. And today I want to talk about how to manage chronic depression. But first, let's talk about what depression is, because depression is not grief. Depression is not sadness. Depression is not, I'm having a rough day. Depression is something in your brain tells you that life is not worth living. Depression is a chemical imbalance that happens as a result of a lot of different things, sometimes genetics, sometimes PTSD, sometimes you're not eating the right things, sometimes it's your diet, sometimes it's what you're putting into your body and it's fucking with your brain and it's causing you to not want to get out of bed in the morning. And that's different from the other things that I described. And only a doctor can tell you what depression is, but it has to be the right kind of doctor because most doctors are not educated in what depression is, especially if you're a woman. So I've had depression since I was a teenager. It stems from something called complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD. And we don't have to go into the details of what caused my CPTSD, but I will say it's caused uh, something called suicidal ideation. So I have a satellite channel in my brain constantly telling me all the ways that I could get myself off of this planet. You might even describe it as like a chronic homesickness. Um, and it's some center and like take like a 30-day break. And I was like, that's probably the worst thing that I could do as a very sensitive person is to be surrounded by people and doctors who don't actually know how to treat depression and who only know how to put a band-aid over the symptoms that essentially just like numb the experience. What you have to learn how to do is how to manage your relationship to that voice. So I'm going to tell you guys today how I manage that relationship to stay alive so far, 42 years old. And there are 5 steps, 5 things that I have to do every single fucking day in order just to get through the day. And the first thing is that I have to I'm not actually this is not any order. There's no order to this. I have to move my body so that it sweats. I have to for me that's yoga or skiing or riding my bike or doing a like really hardcore dance video, like putting on a dance playlist and just raging until my body starts to sweat, until it starts to move molecules through its system. And yoga is particularly beneficial for depression because of the magic of the way, especially if you're working with a true yoga teacher and not just like a stretching class, but someone who is actually teaching you how to breathe in order to move the energy through your system so that you can get out of your head and into your body. All right. So, moving my body in a way so that it sweats. All right. That's one thing. The second thing, I need to get my thoughts out of my brain. And for me, some days that looks like journaling, and I'm actually in a pretty good journaling habit right now. I've been a lifelong journaler. You may have heard of the artist way, and journaling out like your pages. And according to the artist way, the rules are that you have to write 5 pages first thing in the morning, and that does not work for me. So what I'll do is I'll set a timer for 10 minutes and I will free write for 10 minutes. And if I have nothing else to write, I will write what I am grateful for. And sometimes it's literally like, I'm grateful that dogs exist. I'm grateful that the sky is blue. Like it's a fake it till you make it situation. Sometimes I'll write affirmations. Sometimes I'll just write like this is what I did yesterday and this is my schedule today. And sometimes I'll ask myself questions and I'll psychically write, I'll free write the answer to those questions. Like, why am I so sad today? And then I just let my hand write and the spirit will write through me and it'll tell me what I'm dealing with. Um, if journaling is not for you, you need to tell somebody. So that maybe having a therapist that you talk to, one of the best most effective strategies that I've learned is I keep a list in my phone of 10 people that I truly trust and who I can text any time of day. And my list of people is people who live around the world. So it doesn't matter what time of day it is. I will text all of these people individually and I will say, please help me. And at least one of them is available to call me. Normally, multiples of them will be immediately calling me, but they'll call me and they'll say, what's going on? And sometimes all I can do is cry. And sometimes I can actually get the words out. But the point is to get the thoughts out of your head because they're not doing any good in there. Okay. This is something that Eckhart Tolle writes about. Thoughts are not useful. Very few thoughts are useful. They're mostly just there to distract you from the magic of the moment. Thoughts are useful for planning, for making plans, but then sometimes you live too much in the future. And one of my favorite Eckhart Tolle quotes is this was an interview with, I'm not even going to say his name because he's been canceled. But he was asked, like, what do you do when you're not touring? And Eckhart Tolle was like, I just stare at the window at nature. And that is the third thing that I have to do in order to manage chronic depression, which is I need to be out in nature. And I'm very fortunate. I went to a master's program in traditional Chinese medicine and I learned a Taoist meditation ceremony where it's a very formal ceremony. I'm not going to go through it here, but if you want to know more about it, you can reach out to me. You can leave a comment here. You can email me. You can contact me on Instagram or some other social media channel, and I will share with you this very sacred practice of learning how to meditate with trees. And I give my emotions and my thoughts to the trees. And the trees truly are like the only beings that I really trust in this world. So this is something I do nearly every single day as I move through nature. I'm a skier, so often I'm going to the mountain and I'm skiing through nature. I'm often dog sitting, so I'm taking the dogs through walks through nature. But at the very least, I am just like looking at nature and witnessing the perfect, magical patience of nature happening just as it should be. All right. So we've got sweating, moving your body so that it sweats. We've got getting those thoughts out of your head, which might be journaling, it might be talking to somebody. We've got moving through nature. Okay. The fourth thing is meditating. And this is where things get a little tricky when it comes to depression, and especially if you have compound depression and anxiety, which is someone with ADHD. Oh, I got a lot of anxiety. So, seated, still meditation is not necessarily healthy for me, but the yoga practice of pranayama is very, very healthy for me. And pranayama is also referred to as breath work here in the Western world, but it's not like Wim Hof breath work. That's a totally different colonized thing. We're talking about life force cultivation. Okay, prana translates kind of to life force. So, especially when you're dealing with chronic depression, you have to learn how to cultivate life. And so, doing pranayama practices help to cultivate life. I have a whole course on Insight Timer about the yoga practices that have helped me. You can Google it yourself or you can leave a comment and I will link to it directly. But learning how to cultivate life through your breath work is the fourth way that I deal with chronic depression. And then the fifth thing that I have to do every single fucking day in order to manage chronic depression is I have to feed myself really energizing food. And energizing food means not eating animals because I cannot eat torture or else it makes me more depressed. And if you eat any animal products, you are eating torture. And so that's why I went vegan over a decade ago. I stopped eating animal products and I still have to manage depression. It didn't cure all of my ills, of course, but it did make it easier to have a relationship to my body and to learn how to feed myself in a way that the food that I put into my body gives me positive energy instead of feeding myself torture. Okay, so those are the 5 things that I do to manage chronic depression. Now let me look through these comments. Hi, hello, Oscar Villa. What for 180 mil bacon and egg? I have no idea what that means. Man, these comments. These YouTube commenters, man, what the fuck is your problem? Sulis, big sad. Yep, depression. Okay, Sulis, so I've got to do something other than focusing on the big sad. Our emotions aren't real. Your emotions are very real. Your emotions are very real. They are temporary. Emotions are hormones happening in your body, okay? Your emotions are real, but they do not have to dictate your reality. You absolutely have got to learn how to process your emotions because emotions are real as my words, as my body, as this piece of paper, as this table. Your emotions are very real, but they will not last forever if you learn how to process your emotions. And the 5 steps that I went through, those are the things that I do in order to process emotions. Somatic, okay, so talk therapy, not useful for me. Somatic therapy, very useful for me. Yoga is a form of somatic therapy. Qigong is a form of somatic therapy. Tai Chi is a form of somatic therapy. Any sort of martial art is a form of somatic therapy. And when I say somatic therapy, what I mean is it's teaching your body how to move through emotion. So when you say you've got to do something other than focus on the big sad, yes, sort of. And so why the big sad? It's probably because there's something going on in your body that you are not processing, and you need to find a healer, such as myself. I actually work as a healer, who can help you learn how to process, not to rationalize, not to think about it, but to actually process the emotions that you are experiencing so that you can be in the present moment, so that you can experience enlightenment, which over the past several videos I've been talking about my personal definition of enlightenment, which I learned from one of my Buddhist mentors, which is just to be grateful for right this very second without thinking about how you could possibly change the past so that you don't have to hurt anymore, without worrying about the future to prevent yourself from future hurt, because you are not here to not feel pain. You are here to experience the full spectrum of human emotion and to learn how to transmute it into joy. And in order to do that, it's important to admit that maybe you're not experiencing joy right now.